Happy Wednesday, everybody. This is a food shortage and news update for you. We have a grocery store manager was shaken as she took one of our viewers aside and told her that coffee prices are about to explode. We got that story here on this report. We got the latest coming out from Venezuela. I'm going to give you my 2 cents on that. I've been holding back on that because I've been kind of waiting to see how things play out a little bit because that's been a dynamic situation. Didn't want to jump in and say anything crazy and then be absolutely wrong. I am going to give you my speculation and my gut on those things, and it's probably going to be a lot different than what you've heard from other people. Airstrike on Beirut. Israel just brings to justice a man who helped kill hundreds of U.S. and French servicemen, as well as many Israelis. That airstrike, pretty crazy images coming out of that. We don't have them on here for you, but they are out there on Twitter and such. And Facebook forced to pay Texas over $1 billion. That puts a smile on my face. We have food shortage updates coming from you guys from Brazil, Croatia, and all over the United States. Let's jump into it. Welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade. And these are your updates that you guys are sending in, and also some of the news stories that are happening out there that do affect you. If you have an update that you'd like to share, make sure you use the word update somewhere in your comment. That gets it to the right place and gives some sort of geographical location. If you see somebody make a comment that's really useful, but they forgot the word update in there, you can always reply back to them and use the word update in your reply, and that does flag it there in the system as well. Or if somebody makes a really rude comment that you think should be banned or something like that, you can reply back to them and use the word update as well. Anyway, let's hop over into Genesis Gold, our sponsor for this video. They help people with retirement accounts get out of stocks and bonds, which are on shaky ground right now. They are a Christian business, Christian-run business, good values. They treat people with respect, and they do not pressure people, and they give you the information, and you can make the choice for yourself. If you want to talk to them, if you want to get some questions answered and see if it's a good fit for you and your retirement account, Jonathan and his team, there will be a link at the end of the video for you to get more information. All right, so Venezuela. So we had the election just the other day, and the problem is that the election turned out very, very different than the exit polls. As of now, Argentina, Chile, Costa Rica, Peru, Panama, Dominican Republic, and Uruguay have essentially rejected the election. So a lot of Spanish-speaking countries have rejected the election. Brazil has announced that they are still investigating the election, and they haven't made up their mind as to who is actually the winner. So Maduro is his government proclaimed him the winner, but they're saying a lot of people out there are saying he didn't win, and it's evident that he didn't win. So he's trying to convince Brazil, because Brazil is the power in South America for sure. United States is not on board with his version of events either. So. In fact, it's even worse than that. The United States government has just put a $15 million bounty on Maduro's head. It's not dead or alive, it's alive, but $15 million reward for anyone who helps in the capture of Maduro to show up in U.S. courts to be tried for drug trafficking charges. Now, so where are we now? We got a whole bunch of people going out in the streets and protesting this thing. They are very upset. They see this as Maduro and his government have stolen the election, and they're not happy about it. But here's the thing. None of these countries that we've talked about so far seem willing to commit military resources to overthrowing the Maduro government. And it's pretty evident that all these protesters don't have any guns. And there's no political faction inside Venezuela that has an army or anything like that. So unless the government's army defects on them and overthrows Maduro, this ain't going anywhere. Lots of millions and millions of protesting people who are unarmed against hundreds of thousands of armed soldiers is really, that's not a civil war, friends. That's a massacre. So they can march out there until the atrocities start happening and they finally decide to go home. That's probably what's going to happen here. We're all going to shed tears. It's going to be awful, but that's probably about as far as this is going to go. Maduro's not going to give up power. The socialists aren't going to be voted out of office. They're not going to let that happen. They will stay in power. There will be protests until the atrocities are too great and the people realize that they really don't. The government's not going to listen to them. It's not like, oh, well, they have 200,000 people out here today, so therefore, okay, we should resign now. Nope. An unarmed population really can't kick out an armed, militaristic power. So, sorry, but the rest is smoke. There will be some oil market implications to this. There'll be some trade implications. There are probably going to be more sanctions thrown on Venezuela. But that's about it at this time. Unless something changes, unless they start getting organized, could they form a long-term resistance and turn this into a civil war? Yes, but it's going to probably take them 3 to 5 years to actually get organized enough to actually make that a real legitimate threat to the Maduro regime. The logistics and planning just aren't there. The opposition inside Venezuela, from everything I've seen, does not have that capability, and they're not going to accomplish anything. So, not right now, no. So, you can watch it, you can see it, and go, that's awful, but nobody seems really willing to do anything about it, so it is what it is. Don't vote yourself into socialism, because you can't vote your way out. That's the truth. Israel conducted an airstrike on the third-ranking Hezbollah commander. He was the chief of staff, and he oversaw the missile attack that hit the soccer field over the weekend. He was also one of the planners of the U.S. Marine barracks bombing in 1983, the year I was born. That killed 241 U.S. military personnel, many of them Marines, but Israeli military sources are out there sharing that it was successful, that they did get the guy. And the issue, though, that a lot of people are seeing right now is that, one, this was in the suburbs of Beirut, the capital city of Lebanon. It was in a residential apartment building and basically flattened the building and damaged the buildings nearby. And so when you see these numbers, when I say these numbers, this will actually be a little surprising that it's so low. But one woman apparently was killed and 68 people were injured. 5 of those were critically. The other 63 were moderate to minor injuries. In cases like this, you probably have a lot of broken glass, a lot of glass that has been, blown through windows and stuff like that, and people get a lot of cuts and stuff like that from that. So surprisingly low casualties, honestly, considering the images of damage out there. Now, we've been promised, and I don't want them, but, Israeli government has said basically they're going to do broad and significant strikes. This does not appear to be broad and significant. This does appear to be significant. But my interpretation of this is that they are preparing those broad and significant airstrikes and such. But this guy probably went to the top of the list and they said, we know he's in a residential area of Beirut, but we're willing to go after him. And what probably happened was, with my understanding of how special operations and stuff like that works, which we won't get into how I know all that stuff. But anyway, they got he got on the list of targets. They then saw him pop up, maybe he lit up a cell phone, whatever. They found him. And they said, we could wait for when we do the broad and significant strikes, but by that point, he could turn off his cell phone. We won't know where he is, and we won't have that opportunity. And then the major broad and significant strikes will freak him out. He's going to go to ground. We're not going to find him again. So we have a target of opportunity, and they decided to take him out, broad daylight, before the broad and significant strikes. So he was on the target package list, but they saw him, they saw the opportunity, they took the opportunity. The broad and significant strikes are probably still going to start in the next couple of days. Some speculation out there now, since we're getting into the week, that they may wait till Friday so it doesn't impact the markets quite as much. That's a possibility. Iran is already upset. Hezbollah is super upset. The Houthis, they came out with a statement and everyone said, who cares what you have to say about this? Anyway, Iran's very upset about this already, and they're already talking about retaliation and that kind of stuff. But I think we're going to see another wave, a much larger, more broad wave from Israel in the coming days. Just giving you kind of my gut check on my understanding of what's going to happen the next couple of days. I know that the U.S. government and the Biden administration is heavily pressuring Netanyahu to go light on this and not do major stuff. So I can imagine the Biden administration yesterday was cringing as they saw the news. President Biden probably still got his ice cream cone, so he was probably still happy. In the south of Israel, at a Palestinian military detention center run by the Israeli Defense Force, 8 soldiers were arrested for assaulting and torturing a prisoner who was severely injured from the incident and taken to the hospital. I will point out this is one person that this was done to, and the people that did this have been arrested. There was a 9th person that was arrested. They apparently realized that person really didn't have anything to do with it. They were released. The other 8 were still in prison. Now, this has taken a turn in the sense that people in their unit and other people in the military, as well as civilians, tried to storm the compound where these 8 soldiers were being held to free them, which is not how you go about these things. If they committed the crimes, then they should be imprisoned, right? They should be punished for what they've done. But there's a whole bunch of people out there who think that they shouldn't be punished for what they did, even though the details out there are, well, you shouldn't do that to people. Horrific. And I won't get into what they did. You can look it up for yourself. But that's a problem. And in a free world country like Israel, a democracy, people being elected by the people, with that the case, they should hold people accountable for crimes. And they are doing that, right? They're doing that. Now, I don't like to see those mobs out front rioting and trying to break people out of prison before they have their fair trial. That's not how the system should work. But the system in Israel is working. They committed crimes. This person ended up in the hospital, and the people that did that to him are being tried through the Israeli justice system. And so that's all I'm going to say about that. I think that's it proves that the Israeli Defense Force, as well as the Israeli government, will not tolerate this type of behavior. And you look across the way at Hamas, and they treat their prisoners and their hostages completely different. How many of their hostages have died in their holding? A lot of them have, and that just really goes to show what Netanyahu was saying about civilization versus barbarism as uncivilization or terrorists. It's the truth. Just look at that information and see how many of those Hamas people that killed their hostages, how many of them have been brought to justice? None of them. I guarantee you that. Facebook forced to pay Texas $1.4 billion for capturing and use of people's biometric data. Thank goodness. Smack those people on the wrist harder, harder, harder. Should be $10 billion, and should be not to Texas, but should be to the entire United States. Should be some of that should be going to other countries. Meta is a big problem. Pike Gamer says from Croatia, at the farmer's market, one small egg cost 0.23 euro, which is euros are slightly more expensive than US dollars. So think of that as like maybe 25, 26 cents, something like that, per egg. Before, it cost about 7 times less. So the price of eggs have gone up 7 times in just the last few years. That tells you that the egg shortage is not just in the United States, it's not just in Australia, but it's over in Europe as well. Michelle says, East Central Indiana, grocery store manager pulled me aside while I was putting 5 canisters of coffee in my cart, saying, you are very welcome to buy that much coffee, but prices of all coffee brands are going to explode. This is the store manager. She didn't elaborate, but she was clearly disturbed. I know this has been talked about here, but her reaction really brought it home. Our community here was the first thing I thought about on my way home. We keep you guys on the cutting edge of these things and on well ahead of the curve. The things that happen out there, oftentimes we've told you months ago. And that is, I think, really the shining value of us sharing information with each other. You guys pass along so much valuable information, and I'm able to compare it against other people, and then also to try to find out answers of why those things are happening out there. Chris says, Sam's Club in Fort Smith, Arkansas has had no coffee for over 2 weeks now. The shelves have been replaced with water and flavored drinks. Now the rice supply is dwindling. At the Dollar General, no Taster's Choice freeze-dried coffee for long-term storage. Freeze-dried coffee is the best for long-term storage, though if you get the green coffee beans, you can store those for a pretty long time too if you store them properly and then toast them up yourself. But once you toast them, they start to go stale. If you grind them up after toasting them, they go stale even faster. But then again, it oftentimes gets down to packaging as well. Also, Walmart had only a few jars left before someone grabbed them up. Once again, that's for the Taster's Choice freeze-dried coffee. Pins says Walmart has shrunk their coffee section to a bunch of cardboard boxes and plastic K-cups to train you to be rationed. Walmart used to have excellent, great value organic coffees in a bag until they discontinued them last year. Now just low-level, mostly Robusta bean junk. Of course, it's the Robusta beans that we're having problems with. And so all the cheap coffee is disappearing, and so people are transferring over to the more expensive stuff, and that's causing shortages all over the place. Ellie says, I was buying Bakel's instant yeast. Now, this is in Australia, so I'm not sure I'm familiar with all these brands. Half a kilo for $6.50 Australian dollars. Just 3 months ago, now it's $39.95. $6.50 to $39.95. Big change, obviously. At first, I thought maybe it's just this brand, but no, other bulk yeast products have skyrocketed as well. Is there a problem with yeast that I'm not aware of, or is this just Australia? We are talking over a 500% increase. This is crazy. As of right now, I believe it is just Australia, but if anyone is seeing that in other parts of the world or in the United States, please let us know. Make sure you use the word update in your comment, and I will get back with you guys if it's beyond Australia, but it does seem to be concentrated there right now. Mayo says, I was into Lowe's in Pennsylvania to pick up some bulbing onions to plant. I bought some a month or two ago at a different store location and wanted to plant some more. I looked all around the garden section and they had none. Of course, planting onions in the fall is, you plant them in the spring or you plant them in the fall. Fall is better. Of course, a few weeks later, I went to the same store I purchased my first set of onions from, and they had none. The garden section, which is usually nice and big, was a complete mess. They eliminated 3/4 of the gardening supplies in the store and replaced that section with appliances. Outside of houseplants, they had 2 small sections for seeds, when 2 months ago they had over 10 sections. They did have a bag of bulbing onions on top of the cardboard display for seeds, but they clearly had gone bad as they were very mushy and had a foul odor. I ended up buying onion seeds, which I had to look for, as the seed packets display was very much unorganized and limited. Babalu says Brazil suspended chicken exports due to Newcastle disease. They export a lot, and I get roosters and frozen chicken breasts from Brazil. They have apparently dealt with the Newcastle disease, and they're looking at restarting exports in the coming days, but that has caused a disruption of chicken out there, especially from Brazil. Todd says, hi Steve, I live in Cincinnati, Ohio. I work nights at Amazon Air Hub in Hebron, Kentucky. Normally, when I get off from work at 12:15 a.m., I can see planes, one after another. They look to be about 4 to 5 minutes apart during my 40-minute drive home. When I get home, I hang outside and continue to watch these planes directly fly over my house. This morning, this was back on Friday, there was absolutely no planes. Never seen this before. Don't know what's up. Thanks for all you do. Tug, and that was back in Prime Week, right? Tug says, I saw something with onions at my Aldi in Virginia Beach. I also haven't seen any cottage cheese at Aldi or Walmart. We're definitely seeing issues with onions out there. And you guys are confirming that. Saw that here. Not sure exactly all the extent of it. We will be digging into that more as we go forward, as more information is available. Christy says, went to Kroger and couldn't find frozen cauliflower. Went to the fresh section and the only thing I found was a few heads of organic and a few bags of already cut. Prices have already increased considerably. I wouldn't have bothered, but ours didn't turn out very well in our garden. We're in Batesville, Indiana. Keep up the good work. We all appreciate it. Salty Stone had a potential solution to the looming World War III and other international problems. Steve, we could just send more money to Ukraine, which is basically the government solution to everything, right? I thought it was funny. Wanted to share that with you guys. David says, Northeast Pennsylvania was at a chain store today. Redner's Warehouse Markets asked the one worker if they've been having a shortage issue. She said yes. I replied that I thought so because of all the bare areas in between the aisles. The shelves are full, but the extras in between are gone. She also stated that the tobacco products are especially low. All the trucks they received are not full as they should be. Never thought I would see this. Be safe and God bless. I saw a meme out there just the other day. It was like something to the effect of, all the kids today are hooked on the woke mind virus. They would be better off if they were still hooked on tobacco. Wokeness is much more dangerous than tobacco. That is a scary truth. All right, friends, thanks for joining with us. If you want to get some more information about Genesis Gold Group, about what you can do with your retirement accounts, there's a link right there on the screen. If you want to check out another video from this channel, there's one right up there. Thanks so much for watching. Steve Poplar of The Poplar Report, out.